Every year there's a science fiction convention in Boston called Arisia. It's named after a race of benevolent old Santa dudes from one of my favorite books. I go to this thing. Partly because my quote-unquote expertise in anime makes me a good program participant, which means I get in on the house and get to eat all of their food. But partly because I'm a big fat nerd and like sci-fi and fantasy and all of that Hobbits and Rick Deckard and H.B. and Piper and Ron Perlman and Voltron shit. Arisia gets like 2,500 people over the course of the weekend. This makes it the smallest convention I go to by several orders of magnitude, but hey, they're doing what they can with what they got. Thankfully, this was the convention's last year at the comfy but undersized Hyatt Cambridge, which looks like a Kubert stage. So I get to this thing on Friday afternoon, and the first thing I look at is the anime dance. It's just like any anime dance at any anime convention, only there are no people there. Seriously, not one single person. I hope the DJ entertained himself at least. When that stuff isn't going on, I like to go to panels. Panels are when you get a bunch of nerds to sit at the front of the room and argue about stuff. Sometimes there's constructive discussion, but where's the fun in that? Here's my buddy Santo talking about genre musical.
Both to counterpoint what's happening and also to kind of provide an ironic point, like just going back to The Wicker Man. If you guys have seen The Wicker Man, one of the things is, particularly if you watch the director's cut, is there's a lot more folk songs in it.
What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the beast!
Why is Sweeney Todd a genre musical?
Because it's cannibalism.
Horror? Well, but you discounted the Three Amigos because it was Western, so is Western not a genre?
No, but I mean, cannibalism is, okay, if you have incidents of cannibalism in, say, what is it, because remember, he didn't eat the people for real in, was the South Park thing. He's a mafia.
Genres of which we are the fandom.
Right,
Not,
they're
so
all
Western,
genre music.
Western is a genre,
yes,
but that's
yes,
not one of
so.
our genres the way that say horror or science fiction is.
Yeah.
How come?
But if it's a
For
Star
some
Trek
reason,
movie, then that
crappy, overrated horror comedy is a genre musical, but Western isn't. See? Arguing.
Cop rock.
I liked cop rock. I was the only one.
Another interesting thing about Arisia is the costume. You know, Batman?
I'm doing.
I got a question for you. I mean, so, don't you think it's time that you moved out of your parents' basement? Aside from Batman, I saw some Star Wars dudes and a bunch of those steampunk guys. Steampunk is what happens when a grandfather clock vomits on Abraham Lincoln. It's apparently some sort of big, old, hip, happening subculture, but I don't buy that. The Difference Engine is a shitty book, and I really wonder where all these jerkbags were when Steam Boy was still in production. Other than that, there was regular con stuff, like tabletop gaming, videos, and scruffy dudes in Utilikills. One thing that bugs me about this con is that there's no good hanging out spot. The lobby is a little too small for that, and there's no dealer's room. Just a dealer's row of people selling crap out of their hotel rooms that always seem kind of low rent to me. Anyway, I'm digressing. The focal point of this blog entry, however, is something to do at some of these shows, an activity called FILK. FILK is basically folksy music, with the lyrics rewritten to be about hobbits and shit. You know, kind of like Led Zeppelin.
Just in the darkest depths of Mordor.
Now, if you're a well-informed geek, you hear about FILK, and your mind immediately jumps to this scene from Trekkies.
Spilled on the sand, amidst some quick death, she breathes her last breath, and dies as I cling to her hand. Mere mortals you be.
Seriously, that is some awkward, embarrassing shit right there. And for years, I'd see the FILK stuff listed in the program and I'd laugh to myself, secure in the knowledge that these people were painfully unhip. And even though I stay up all night sometimes watching Automan on YouTube, at least I'm still way cooler than those FILK dudes. But wait a minute. I don't know these people. I don't dig their rituals. I never attended a single FILK thing. And the other thing is, I play instruments. Badly. We were playing in the sand, and you found a little band. You told me. I love to sing along with stuff. Badly. So what I did was, I took my cameras to FILK things at Arisia. Here are my findings. The first thing I went to was called FILK 101. I took my ukulele, figuring it would be music, music, and more music. No, it was just some people talking about what FILK was and what the deal with it was. Sorry, I didn't get video of the talk itself, so here, look at these pictures of George Best's sideburns while I talk. Apparently there's a stylistic divide between East Coast and West Coast FILK, kind of like Biggie and Tupac. The whole thing was done in a room where there were like 5 people tops maybe. They seemed like okay people though. Then I went back the next day for an actual FILK sing-along. It was called Bloody Songs and was all about vampires and stuff. And hopefully the good kind of vampires, not the crappy, angsty, boring kind.
Day-o, day-o, no. Daylight come and I gotta go home. Day-o, day-o, no. Daylight come and I gotta go home. Vampires sexy, don't you think now? Daylight come and I gotta go home. Come pretty girl, we'll have a little drink now. Daylight come and I gotta...
Again, there was like 8 or 10 people in the room. The organizers had a couple of songs ready to go, but that was really it. After that, they kinda cast about for a bit, trying to sing random things. A lot of it was really obscure and nerdy stuff, even though the melodies were familiar.
Oh, where are you going, Sir James, she said. Where now are you riding? That might be Becky. Oh, where are you going, Sir James, she said. Where now are you riding? Oh, I am bound to a foreign land, for now I'm on to hiding.
I asked these people where they learned all these songs, and one of them held up a tattered copy of this thing. So that's a problem, right? If you publish all of your songs in a book that's hard for newcomers to obtain, you're going to end up sitting in a mostly empty room trying to think of something to play. Fortunately, things livened up in the next song circle, which was about sea shanties. I am totally okay with these things. After all, the best cartoon in the whole world starts with one.
It's Popeye the Sailor Man.
Well, okay, it's not traditional, it's actually ripped off from Gilbert and Sullivan, but hey, isn't Popeye awesome? That noise he makes when he eats the spinach always kills me. Striking contrast, the room filled up with people for this one. The good thing about sea shanties is that they're all about call and response. So if you don't know the words, you can cotton onto the refrain pretty fast. John Tanaka Turaye, Turaye, oh Turaye, John Tanaka Turaye.
We're Liverpool born and Liverpool bred. Hey!
John Tanaka Turaye.
We're strong in the arm and...
Dig my contrabass style. Yeah, I'm flat as hell. Maybe if I sang more often, I wouldn't be so terrible. One thing I wished was more prevalent, though, was instrumentation. Some people brought instruments, but they rarely played. I would have strummed along on the uke if I had chord charts for the songs, but they weren't available. At one point in the sea shanty thing, the Con's musical guest and her cellist buddy did a tune. Here's just a portion of one of her tunes. Check it out. This lady is named S.J. Tucker, and she's okay by me. Her website says that she does fairy punk. I don't know what the hell that is, but I do know that she had a wicked cool carbon fiber guitar. I wanted to have a look at it, but I was too bashful to ask. Later that afternoon, they did even more FILK stuff, and I dropped back in. This time it was like the first one, with only a handful of people doing a bunch of tunes. One guy did a song to the tune of Big Rock Candy Mountain. That was alright. I actually sang this time too, check it out. And did she ever return? No, she never returned, and her fate is still unlearned. And for years and years, lonely hearts have waited for the ship that never returned. Yeah, I'm horrible, aren't I? I need practice. Also, I need to lose some weight. Jesus. So that was my FILK adventure at Arisia 2010. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have any fun. I did have fun singing stupid stuff. But my big takeaway is that the whole FILK thing isn't all that popular, and it's almost by design. It seems really stilted and awkward at first glance, and it's hard to jump in. Would I do it again? Well, maybe if they let me sing MacArthur Park.